the real challenge today, particularly, there's so much pain in the world. You know, you see a lot of spiritual teachers talking about the fact there's so much pain in the world these days. You can't be a contemplative and not feel the pain of the world. Just not possible, you know. And that means feeling it. And not, you know, and that's very real. But the challenge, I think, is can I feel the pain of the world, my own pain, whatever, but still keep my heart open. And what does that feel like? You know, and this is all on a feeling level rather than on a thinking one. And we get it all the time, you know, in our relating. We sometimes get knocked back a little bit in our hearts. And how open is my heart anyway? You know, I know I've gone through phases where I didn't even know my heart existed. I was so in my head at one part of my life or somewhere else. So it's to have that attitude, I think, of compassion and empathy and kindness that come out of a conscious heart. And a conscious heart is one that accepts loss and pain, but is still able to be kind and compassionate. And that's the challenge, you know. And I think it's called a conscious heart because you have to work at it. It's active. It's not just, you can't just sit back and go, oh well, sure, yeah, my heart is open. It doesn't work that way. It's a willingness to love. Even though there will always be loss or even pain involved. And at a deeper level as well, you know, to love the things we don't like. You know, and sometimes it's the things we see in others we don't like. And then to be able to love those things in ourselves. The shadow, the darkness, the parts of ourselves that aren't so acceptable or, you know, or what we could be, you know. So, you know, when somebody says to me, oh John, I could never be like that, I wonder where the love is there, you know. I may not condone a particular way of behaving in the world, but I could do it and I could be like that. And so I suppose that's really the journey, isn't it, with the heart. Anything else?
When you say how you develop this compassion, how to develop it, do you think it's through meditation you develop it? Is there other ways?
Well, that practice, you know, that's on the page, moving into the heart, thinking about, feeling, first of all, a sense of love, and then opening out to people maybe that are in my life, and then people that I have difficulty with. You know, there's a development. Imagine somebody I'm having difficulty with sitting in front of me and opening my heart to that person. That would be a way of developing it. Or imagining a situation in the world that I have difficulty with, opening my heart to that. You know, so sometimes, you know, we find it easy to love the things that people or things that are close to us. That's okay. But then what about, you know, the other things? Is there room in the heart for that? I'm practicing compassion. And compassion really begins with myself. Am I loving myself in every situation in my life? And then am I loving myself with the people that I'm with? You know, not loving them or them loving me, but loving with. That's the challenge. It's a kind of different way of saying it, but the language is very important.
So could you just explain that again, the loving with, just
So if I'm loving a person, I'm projecting onto them, isn't that it? So I'm loving them, or they're loving me, They're projecting onto me. And so much of our world is projection. You know. But if I'm loving, am I loving myself with this person? Is a slightly different but very important emphasis. Am I loving myself with them? So when I'm with somebody, sometimes what happens, you know, they may say something to me, something negative, say. We get into an argument. And then what happens? Somewhere in there I start to become negative or judgmental or critical either for myself or towards them. So I'm no longer loving myself with this person, am I? In that moment. My heart is no longer there, that the heart's no longer in it.
But just to stay with that for a moment, sorry, just that very issue you're talking about, that you're trying to love somebody with yourself, okay? But love
myself with somebody.
Myself with somebody, okay.
Yeah.
But but there has been let's say something negative, or that other person has acted in quite a negative way.
Sure.
And a hurtful way.
Sure.
And maybe not just once, but consistently.
Sure.
So can you just explain then, how do you do the loving that person with yourself?
Loving yourself with that person. You have to get it the right way around first. So, yeah, well, that's a good question, isn't it? And the thing is, this person's behavior is negative, say, and I feel hurt by their behavior, and they keep repeating that, you know. Now, if I'm taking that in and feeling hurt, I'm not loving myself in that situation with this person. Do you know what I mean? I'm not loving myself, you know. So what's the learning in that? Can I love myself even if negativity comes towards me? Because there's some part of me that takes the negativity and takes it inside and says, oh well, you know, on some level I deserve this. You know, and feels hurt because there's some attachment going on between the two people. But if I say, okay, you know, this negativity is coming towards me, how can I love myself in a situation like that? That's where real growth happens, isn't it? Because it gives me the power back, doesn't it? This person may or may not change their behavior. I may leave the relationship even. But that's a choice for another day. But more importantly, it gives me the power back. I now have power again. I'm not dependent on how this person behaves for my own well-being. Isn't that it? You know. So and it's difficult. If it was easy, everyone would do it and we'd all be living very consciously, but it's difficult. So how can I love myself when there's a lot of negativity coming towards me? Is the growth, you know. Where is it in my own self? Something in me takes that on. Something. And I've got to find that part and love it and heal it and integrate it so that when the negativity comes towards me, I don't lose my sense of well-being. You know. Okay. Does that help? Food for thought. Okay, let's have a cup of tea. Thank you.